Hey guys, welcome to Maverick Meteor. So Thanksgiving's over, but I've still got these little decorative pumpkins laying around, and I'm thinking, what should I do with them? Well, I have an idea. Let's pick this one right here. I want to create a sand mold for this project. The sand I'm using here is called Petrobond. That's just a really fine sand with an oil binder. In this step, I'm trying to locate the center of the pumpkin. The center of the pumpkin has to be aligned with the center of the mold. If it's not, the pumpkin will become stuck and it won't separate from the mold. Now that all of the sand is rammed in, I need to level off this middle part. This is called striking off. This will be the very center of the mold and it needs to separate cleanly from the top half. The white stuff I'm sprinkling on is parting powder. This prevents the top half of the mold from sticking to the bottom half. Some people use talc or graphite, but I'm just using plaster of Paris because it's cheap and it's easy to get. That little X mark in the corner is only marked on one side of the flask. It's a visual aid to ensure I've assembled the flask correctly. The plastic piece I'm placing in the sand is a 3D printed sprue basin template. I created this to make a perfectly shaped sprue basin. The metal tube I'm using is to cut the sprue hole. This pulls a core out of the sand and makes a path for the metal to fill up the mold. I'm cutting a hole here and I'm trying to align it with the stem of the pumpkin. This is called the riser. This is where the metal will exit the mold. Now it's time to separate the mold very carefully. With any luck, the sand won't fall out. Alright, not bad. There's a little sand here. This will fill in with metal later, but I can clean it up with a Dremel tool. The channel I'm cutting here is the bottom of the sprue. This is where the metal will flow from the sprue into the mold cavity. Alright, the mold's ready to go. Let's go melt some metal. Let's see how much fuel we have. The entire tank's 26 pounds, 2.1 ounces. So if we subtract the 17-pound empty tank weight, let's see how much we get. 9.131 pounds. That's how much fuel's in the tank. That should be plenty. I like to put a small piece of cardboard at the bottom of the furnace. This prevents the crucible from sticking to the bottom. We'll just make sure that this is set to off and go turn on the fuel. Time to light her up. That little dial I just opened uses the Venturi effect to pull in extra oxygen and mix it with the propane. I'll just reposition the crucible to the center here. I want the flame to form a nice tornado shape right around the outside of the crucible. You can see the metal is still a bright silvery color, which means it's not melting quite yet. That deep red color means that the metal is definitely starting to melt. It's pretty hot in there right now. It's too hot for my camera to film the metal. The crucible is almost full, so I'm going to add a few more pieces of aluminum here. These chunks I'm adding here are just crushed up food service pans. They make great aluminum scrap for melting. These pans were used to serve food at catered events. I just saved them from the trash. Just one more piece to add here. This is solid extruded aluminum window frame. Wow, it just ate that thing like it was a stick of butter. Okay, we're ready to pour some metal. Let's shut her down. Alright, let's pour some red hot metal. Oops, I lost a little bit on the ground there. I wasn't planning on having a bonfire tonight, but we might have one anyway. That fire that looks like it's coming off the metal is actually the oil binder burning out of the sand. The metal looks solid here, but the inside is still liquid. I'll let it cool overnight. Yeah, I kinda wish that didn't happen, but what can you do? That spill did some pretty decent damage to the flask, but these are replaceable parts, and they're fairly cheap, so I can fix that. I always keep a couple of molds laying around for any extra metal that's left over in the crucible. That's a nice looking little ingot. And there's a decent little coin-sized ingot. Okay, let's crack this thing open and see what we got. Yeah, that looks like a good pour. Everything's full. Totally solid. Awesome. We'll just get rid of this little piece. And here's what the complete casting looks like with all of the sand removed. I was trying to figure out what it looked like. Maybe some kind of steampunk submarine? I don't know, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. These are the points where the metal entered and exited the mold. This is the hole I cut trying to match the pumpkin stem. You can see it doesn't align perfectly, but it worked out okay. This is from a little vent hole that I made. I didn't show this part, but I just poked a hole through with a stick and it lets hot gas escape from the mold. That's got a nice ring to it. I'd say that's a nice solid casting. I'll hit it with this wire brush and see what the surface looks like. Alright, that looks great. Next step, let's buff it till it shines. I'll save these filings and melt them later. This is the part that got filled in with sand when I separated the mold, but I'll just use the Dremel tool and I'll make it match the pumpkin. No problem. Hey, what are you doing under there? Take a hike, bro. There we go. That looks much better. Alright, last step. This will make it extra shiny. And we're done. Let's see what she looks like. Alright, that is one shiny pumpkin. Well, that was a lot of fun. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I'll probably try this again pretty soon. I hope you enjoyed watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.